Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. That's a really nice and beautiful way to begin or continue a morning, is that introductory chant before the Dhamma talk, that's the style that comes from Thailand. And yeah, people here are learning it, even though the chanting book, all we have is up and down arrows. People are learning the intonation just from hearing it from other people's, and that's a large part of how the learning and the teaching go in Buddhism, is just from, to some degree, osmosis, just being around and keeping your ears open, keeping your eyes open. And it's just so lovely to hear different voices kind of read and chant together that initial chant. I think it was during the winter retreat, I had one mental proliferation that in the future, if we ever have like young children who start coming to the monastery, they could form a children's choir, and we could call them the Tater Tots, like meditator tots. And I didn't share that with anybody at the time because I was supposed to be meditating. But now you all know. Now you know. Yeah, so as I shared at the beginning of, before we meditated, we've started our kind of more formal rains retreat period. So this is a period in the Buddhist calendar around the world where practitioners, monastics, and lay people will really try to up their game, will maybe take on practices that they hadn't done before, maybe try to meditate more, maybe really try to lock in their 5 precepts or their 8 precepts, or try different practices they haven't tried before. So for the first 6 or 7 weeks, Ajahn Nisabo and I are doing a bit more formal meditation. So that's involved just, as I like to do it, this Zoom meditation. And before we started on Monday at 4 a.m. in our first, this is all, I can't blame anybody but myself, but that first sit is it's a 4-hour session from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. And that is intimidating. That's intimidating just to say. But people are welcome to join for any percentage of that time. You can come for as short or as long as you want. But before the week started, I was imagining these coming 7 or 8 weeks. And sometimes this happens in our tradition. Oftentimes there's this encouragement for the Dhamma talk to be totally spontaneous, to not give any thought to what you're going to say when you're going to say it. But for Ajahn Nisabo and I, we kind of know, there's just 2 of us. So we know who's going to give the talk the coming week. So sometimes a thought or a theme will come to mind, sometimes early in the week. And then, oh, that would be interesting to talk about. And then kind of let it go because we're not supposed to plan too much. But then it comes up again, and this kind of nice thread, this tapestry starts to weave itself through the week. And before any of the meditation began, I already started having a bit of a tapestry form in my mind. I said, this would be a great week to talk about sukha, to talk about the pleasure and the happiness of practice. The pleasure and the happiness of practice. So many people, you might go to a meditation retreat, and it's really good advice on a 3-day retreat or a 7-day retreat, especially if it's your first, to not actively lean into and try to stoke pleasant feeling. Because when we come to practice, first off, we are super ham-handed. Our hands are as if they're made out of ham. We are so coarse, we don't know how to deal with the subtleties of the mind. We don't know how to lean into pleasure in a healthy way. And we pick things up, and it can just be a week of suffering if we expect and latch on to pleasurable sensations. But, even though we chanted, the Four Noble Truths, which are so much the language of dukkha, there is another way of formulating the path as being one of sukha, of getting better at happiness, getting better at pleasure, becoming more refined, more subtle, less harmful in the ways that we get our happiness and the sources of our happiness. There's a Dhammapada verse that says, if you realize that by abandoning a lesser happiness, sukha, you'll gain a greater happiness, then the wise person will abandon that lesser happiness, that lesser sukha, knowing that there is this more refined sukha. And sukha is a great motivating factor along the path, and we have to figure out ways to allow and see and lean into the sukha on the path. But so that's what I thought I was going to give the talk on this week. But very quickly, into that first 4-hour sit on Monday, I'd say about 12 minutes into the sit, I'm watching my mind and my body, and I'm just seeing all the pleasure, all that sukha just dissolve before my eyes, and just, oh no, this isn't going the way I wanted it to. This is it's not feeling very sukha, and it's not feeling like it's going to turn into sukha. And I was right. So yeah, I'm not going to talk about sukha that much today. But in addition to learning how to relate to happiness, how to relate to sukhas, we also have to learn how to relate to dukkha, to that which is what we don't want. Because I think so much of the time, especially when we first come to practice, this is what we sit down and encounter, is dukkha, is exactly what we don't want. We sit down and it's not like life is a bowl of Cheerios, but we sit down and we just encounter all the baggage and junk in our mind that we've been carrying around, and all the toxic emotions and toxic thoughts about our friends and coworkers and spouses and friends. And that all just floods the mind. And yeah, the Buddha did say we are the owners of our karma, heirs to our karma, born of our karma. Whatever we do, for good or for ill, of that we will be the heirs. So there is this aspect of self-responsibility and learning how to incline the mind more towards sukha. But the Buddha also taught as a fundamental truth, the truth of not self on a very, very foundational level. We don't have full control, and life isn't going to always give us everything that we want. In fact, whatever way we perceive the world, the truth is ever other than that. We're always and constantly going to be encountering things that we don't want. But that doesn't mean don't sit. So the response to sitting and finding discomfort, both physical and mental, is not just to give up necessarily. Especially if you kind of know your capacities, if you've been at this for a while, you've been meditating for some period of time, and you know yourself to some extent. The Buddha did say there is fundamentally no self, no essential, constant, capital S soul, capital S self, but there are these patterns, and there is this encouragement to attanyu, to know yourself in different ways, to know all the ingredients of yourself. So you can know yourself, and if you said, okay, it is realistic to sit for half an hour, or to sit for 15 minutes, or to sit for an hour, then not necessarily giving up on that. But one thing I find, a real set of tools, which I find as reliable solutions for encountering what one doesn't want to encounter, is particularly this third noble truth. So we recited it together, and if people wanted to look, you're welcome to do that as well. I'll recite it both in English and in Pali repeatedly, but would encourage people to, if you can, remember the Pali. If you can't remember the Pali, remember the English. If you can't even remember the English, then remember the feeling. remember the feeling. And we'll be trying to give people different ways to remember and pay attention to and learn these different gestures, these different motions of mind. So the definition of that third noble truth is six things. The remainderless fading away in cessation, relinquishment, letting go, release, without any attachment. So those six things: viraga, nirodha, chaga, patinissaga, muti, analaya. Six words. And each of these words is a spectrum as well. So all of them at their highest meaning are in different ways synonyms for nibbana, synonyms for the highest goal. The highest goal, nibbana, nirvana, is complete, the remainderless fading away. Nibbana is the remainderless fading away of dukkha, the remainderless fading away of greed, anger, and delusion, the remainderless cessation of dukkha, of greed, anger, delusion, relinquishment, letting go, release without any attachment. So on the highest level, they're all synonyms pointing to different aspects of the highest goal, but they also have much more mundane meanings. Each one of them do. So that fourth one, the third one of chaga, it does mean full relinquishment, letting go of all suffering, completely letting go of that first arrow. So this is a simile which a lot of people will know is all beings, enlightened beings, even the Buddha, experienced physical suffering. That's the first arrow. But what most of us, most of the time do, is we're not just satisfied with that first arrow of physical dukkha. We take another arrow and we hit ourselves with it. And that's the mental dukkha that is unnecessary. That's the second arrow that the Buddha, that enlightened beings just don't do. They just don't add any mental suffering onto the inherent physical pain that's involved with having a human mind. And all of us, sometimes we just pile on the arrows. We got third and fourth. We don't like the dukkha, and then we don't like that we don't like the dukkha, and then we don't like that we don't like the dukkha, and it's just so many arrows in a single hole, and it's just a lot of unnecessary dukkha. So that's the relinquishment on the highest level, but it also means the relinquishment. Chaga is just another word for generosity. So it's the relinquishment of that which we want. I can give away an apple. I can make a meal for my loved one. I can give away. That's also chaga. So I'll be speaking about each of these six as a particular, almost psychophysical gesture of heart and of mind that allows us to face the inevitable trials and tribulations and dukkha of our life. So if our day is going as we like, or if it's not going as we like, if our meditation is going as we like, or it's not going as we like, if we're hearing something that we like or we don't like it, whatever it is, each of these six tools can allow us to stay present and to let go in different ways. So that first one is viraga, so fading away. And I'll somewhat be mapping these six onto a schema taught by a Dzogchen Tibetan teacher named Locke Kelly. He has a book called Shift into Freedom. And he talks about six motions of unhook, drop, open, see, include, know, and let be. So this viraga, this dispassion, is unhooking. So we'll just invite all of you. In fact, I'm going to ring a bell right now to unhook viraga. So just fading away. And even if you don't know what that means, like what would it mean to unhook or to fade away? Even if you don't know what that means, you can probably feel its opposite, what it means to hold on or to have this intensity. So viraga literally means, so raga is dye, D-Y-E, and viraga is the fading away of that dye. So it's said that over time, if you leave a robe out in the sun, it will viraga. The color will just fade away. So this is the motion of heart that we're doing. We're allowing this, okay, unhooking. If you've realized that there's any tension in the body, and again, this is not at all limited to meditation. It can be while you're in a conversation. It can be while you're sitting at work. It can be while you're sitting in front of your computer, sitting, standing, walking, and lying down. Where is the intensity? Where is the tenseness? Where is that accumulation of dye which can just fade away? The fading away. Unhooking. Viraga. And really seeing if you can feel that. Our Dhamma talks are a little bit heady sometimes. We often use a lot of words, but all of Dhamma practice really is about the heart and the motions of the heart and being able to feel what is going on in the heart as our minds do whatever our minds are going to do. So what is this fading away? What is this unhooking? And can you feel your own version of that? Unhooking. And the next aspect of the third noble truth is cessation, nirodha. Or in Locke Kelly's terms, this dropping. So see if you can drop your awareness into the heart space. So drop awareness into the heart. So our mind is often obsessing. We might be totally cerebral at the moment, thinking that I have to understand whatever it is I think I have to understand. I have to think about this. Whereas can you just stop that? Nirodha literally means stopping, ceasing. Ni means down. It's a prefix which means down, to let go. Rud is to stop. So it's a stopping that comes down. So dropping into the heart. Oftentimes, we might even think if someone was to ask you, where is the mind? Or if you come and someone says, look at the breath. It might seem like you're looking down from between your eyes down at your nose. But the mind is not at all spatially limited to the brain in our felt sense of it. The mind can know from the heart. So can you drop awareness into the heart? Dropping, cessation, nirodha. And really just in the kindest way, see, actually, does this apply to me right now? Is there any way that my mind is rolling unnecessarily? That's another connotation of rud. It's like a ball which is rolling. It's got this momentum falling down a hill. And then nirodha is just the stopping of that. Viraga, nirodha, fading away, and cessation. You unhooked, drop. The third aspect of the third noble truth is relinquishment of chaga. And Locke Kelly's word for this is to open. So here, realize that the mind can be big. So this is hopefully what we were practicing in that guided meditation, is that the mind can be big. So you can feel your hand from inside of your hand. You can feel your whole arm from inside of your arm. You can feel the whole body from inside of the body. So in that second step of cessation, of dropping, we allowed the heart to just get less cerebral, less thinky, and fall down, just allow the mind to be more fully embodied in this heart space. And now we're opening up this chaga, this giving. So allowing the mind not to be fully collected and only essentialized in the heart space, the center of the body, but expanding to fill the whole body. So you could think of this as whole body awareness. Whole body awareness. Relinquishment, giving up the specific locality of the mind and just chaga, giving up to a bigger awareness. And you can do this whatever mind state you're experiencing. If you're experiencing some level of drowsiness or dullness, that's not what we're practicing in Buddhism. We're not practicing going to sleep. We're practicing waking up. And any of these tools, the fading away, cessation, renunciation, relinquishment, letting go, release, all of these, we're letting go of these different obstructions and sloth and torpor, or the kind of laziness, lassitude, laxity of the mind. We can relinquish that as well. So that's what we're doing. We're letting the mind get bigger. What sleep does is it just gets smaller and smaller, mentioning the aperture of the mind, just like an aperture on a camera. If it's broken, if you've got an old camera lens, it might just slowly, just more and more collapse in on itself. Does that happen? Yeah, okay, maybe. Okay. But at least theoretically, a camera lens could do that. But what we do in practice is allowing that aperture, allowing the mind to get big. So relinquishing the smallness of the mind and allowing the whole body to be filled, whole body awareness. The fourth aspect is letting go. Viraga, nirodha, chaga, patinissagga. And in this, seeing if you can experience what many people can experience is that actually from a first-person experiential point of view, I don't seem to end where the body ends. It seems like I can feel past the body. Like with my eyes closed, I can't actually say, okay, here's the skin. Here's where I stop and the world begins. I can see it. Okay, there's my knee, and there's all the rest of the world. But in the mind, you can do this level of letting go of even the perception of boundary of the body. So relinquishing that. And each of these can be good in daily life or in meditation when you encounter something that you don't want, because they're moves you can do at any time. Even if you're up against a wall, you can fade away. You can fade away into the wall. You can relinquish the perceptions of obstruction. You just let go of the perceptions of boundedness. So, viraga, nirodha, chaga, patinissagga. The next movement is muti, which is release. So here we include, this is Lot Kelly's word, we include both interior and exterior to the body. So it's as if we're floating in an ocean of awareness. Releasing any kind of feeling of obstruction or limitation. So release. Vimutti, oftentimes it's even translated as freedom. So this is an inclusive freedom, an inclusive release, which releases conceptions of constriction internally and externally. We're including both. And the final movement is analio, without any attachment. And here, Lot Kelly's suggestion is letting be, just letting all that be. So if you've been able to fade away or allow things to cease or relinquish or to let go, or to release, then that's great. But even if you haven't, this last step, analio, literally means without a home, without a bound, without. So you've got the Himalayas, the mountains. Hima means snow. Alaya is the home. So analaya is that which is without stricture, without bounds, without a house in the most freeing sense of that. So would encourage everybody to just see if any of these movements are helpful, and see if any of them are the movement of viraga, of remainderless fading away, viraga, or unhooking. Is there a way that you can do that? Is there a way that you can unhook? So if you take away one word, it can be unhook, or viraga, or fading away. Or maybe this cessation hits more home to you, nirodha, this dropping of awareness, dropping of strictures, of confines. Or you've got chaga, the relinquishment, the full giving away. Muti, release, analaya, without any attachment. So I hope some of those words, or at least one of those words, works with at least one of you. If it works for one of you, at least one word works for one of you, then that's a good start. That's a good start. I would say from there, you can memorize this list. Memorizing things, I know the future is ChatGPT in some way. The future is AI. Maybe from today going forward, you don't need to memorize another thing because you've got your device just right in your pocket. Say, what's the third noble truth? It can tell you maybe even faster than Ajahn Kovilo. But if it's in your heart, AI can't do the gestures for you. AI can't let go for you. AI can't release for you. And so we have to do the work ourselves. We really have to do the work ourselves. In any of these moves, just as each word is a spectrum, any of these words, especially with the attendant motion of the heart that goes with it, really can take us a long way. And you don't have to take my word, just see how it goes in your daily life. Just an unhooking, or a release, or a chaga, or just letting be. So that's a lot of words, but really, we have words. We can use words, and if we can connect the words to the motions of heart, then they can take on deeper and deeper and more satisfactory and more important and significant meanings for each one of us. So I'll leave the talk there and wish you all a lot of release.
Han Tamayang Tamakatha Satu Karanta Dhamase Satu 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 Anumotami.
Okay, so we can open things up to questions or comments, both for people in the room or for people on Zoom. If you have a question or a comment, especially if that didn't make any sense, you can say that. And also, Chia will pass around the mic so people on Zoom can hear us. Yep, please, Julie.
Hi, can you please just repeat for us what we can look up to reference once we leave? Thank you.
Yeah. So it's on page 107 of the Amaravati chanting book, which is available for PDF online. And it's the definition which you find probably dozens, if not hundreds of times in the canons of the third. What is the cessation of dukkha? It's the remainderless fading away in cessation, relinquishment, letting go, release without attachment. So, just 6 main words in English and Pali. So, and if you can remember it, you can tell me that you memorized it, and I will delight. I will, for one, delight that you memorized it. So, Lynn.
Ajahn, thank you so much. The talk was perfect, exactly what was needed. Nevertheless, I do have a question. For some time, I've been dealing with some unpleasant feelings, unwanted situation in my life. And one of the ways I've been working with that has been trying to cultivate awareness, perception of impermanence, just the just seeing the perception of impermanence and the impermanence of perceptions, and it's easy to understand conceptually. More difficult is bringing the awareness actually into experiential awareness of impermanence. And so I wondered if you might have any suggestions on cultivating the actual experiential awareness of impermanence.
Yeah, that's great. So Len was mentioning one of the three characteristics of Buddhism, which are inconstancy or impermanence, anicca, not self or anatta, and dukkha or unsatisfactoriness. And it's good to realize which teachings really hit home for you, because oftentimes the case that one of those main themes or some other theme that you hear about in a talk from somebody will not just last you through a meditation retreat, but might last you through weeks or months or years or decades of practice. It might just be, for whatever reason, that inconstancy, impermanence of things, it just really hits home. And it will change, like other things will become prominent for us. But yeah, there are a lot of ways to, to relate to any of those different characteristics. So it's absolutely true on the level of physics that everything is impermanent. This is one which modern scientists just fully agree with. There's nothing internally or externally which is permanent. No physical matter which is permanent. And so it's true intellectually, philosophically, and on the level of physics. But a kind of a deeper level is just how it feels. So Goenka retreats, this is their main vehicle, is learning how anicca feels in the body, the constant flux and flow, vibrations, feeling anywhere in your body. So for me, I can feel anicca, I can feel vibratoriness in my hands, like especially if I have my hand up like this in the palm, it just feels like a cloud. I don't feel like a glove of skin at the end of my arm. It feels like this cloud of sensations, which is just in flux, in flow. And so if you can find a physiological, anatomical correlate for that perception of impermanence, which then allows you to take all the other really meaningful perceptions which are built into that anicca. So anicca is vast in scope. The implications of that are vast. But if you have a physiological, I can feel what impermanence feels like right now. It feels like, a cloud of sensations. It feels like this blur of sensations at the tips of my fingers right now. Then that's a really tangible way to tap into that. And also just open to the other ones. Like for me, those 6 aspects of the third noble truth are very tangible ways to tap into the perception of not self. So if you're moving spatially your awareness from being constricted in the body to letting go of that, to dropping down into the heart, to expanding to fill the whole body, to expanding to fill outside the body, to include both the body and outside of the body, and then just to resting, that just totally messes up your sense of self. Like, where's the self in there? Usually I think I'm like a self inside this body, but there are all these ways of being with that. So those are not self-perceptions, but I hope that anicca one could kind of hit home for you a little bit too. Yeah, please, Scott.
So thank you very much for today. I really appreciate the talk about dukkha, and you just spoke about impermanence, and then I want to have a question about the non-self issue. At the end of our meditations, we always talk about, or we mention, the meditation of, may I be free from suffering, or may I be happy, and may others be free from suffering, and may they be happy. And I've been thinking this week about how much daylight is there between myself being free from suffering and others being free from suffering, and does the wishes for myself, does that influence the others? And on the other hand, does my wishes for them influence me? Or how much of a separation is there between me and the others? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And for me, it's most visible in my interactions with someone. Like when I'm coming from a very expansive mind state, which is just inherently feeling when metta is easy, when loving kindness comes easily, my interactions with basically anybody are very uncomplicated. It's like the problems don't even arise. It's like, I don't want a problem with you, and there's no problem with you. Whereas other times, if, aversion is present, it's almost the exact opposite. It's like I'm looking for a problem with anybody at any time, animate, inanimate, human, non-human. It's like it's like a problem generation machine, like the non-metta mind. And for me, like that's, whether or not like I can radiate or like shoot metta, laser beams to anybody, that's, philosophical, or sometimes it might seem like maybe that's possible on some level, but just that utter difference from when metta feels most real, when I feel at my most open and kind and generous and loving, versus when I'm feeling very constricted and unloving. Like that's the proof. That's the proof of loving kindness. And I think honestly, metta, there's one of my teachers, he was talking about the difference between a meditation system that's very technique-centric, where they give you a meditation technique, you focus, on your breath in this very particular way, and just do it, rote, just do it over and over, and then eventually you'll get it, versus the forest tradition. And he compared this to like the rules for like boxing, where you can punch people in a lot of different ways, but you can't kick somebody in the head. Whereas like mixed martial arts, the Thai forest tradition is like mixed martial arts. You can put somebody in a headlock, you can knee them, you can do all sorts of things. There are probably some rules, I don't know exactly, but with metta, it's the same way, like no holds barred metta. If your metta practice is a very cognitive one, if you're just thinking about all the advantages of being open-hearted, thinking about all the advantages of like, wouldn't it be great if I didn't quarrel with my best friend, or if I didn't, quarrel with my spouse or my kid? Wouldn't that be beautiful if I could have spaciousness? Not that I'm always going along with them, but I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like. I've done it before. I've won the metta contest, and I haven't given in to anger in those moments. And that's beautiful. And the wish, like, may others be happy. Like that sentence, happiness can be such a fragile and fickle thing, and the perception in English is just used and misused in so many different superficial ways. But like, I want everybody to be happy like the Dalai Lama is happy. I want everybody to be happy like I'm happy when I'm at my least clingy. So yeah, you can think about metta, you can feel into metta, radiate metta, laser beam metta, and just experiment with, it's not like a one-size-fits-all. The metta phrases, may I be well, there's, a couple of the schemas are in here. May I abide in well-being and freedom from affliction and freedom from hostility and freedom from ill will, etc. Those phrases might be a great way to do metta. Or this unbounded, I will abide pervading one quarter, likewise the second, third, fourth, with the mind imbued with loving kindness. How does that land? Does that seem doable? Is there daylight in your mind from those two different modes of, yeah, in your own experience of what metta feels like when it's really working, like this is definitely metta versus when it's just plainly not there?
Yeah, that seems to work. Yeah, I was thinking more in terms of a philosophical, how does it, not the mechanics of it, but more of how much is there an interaction in my wishing for myself, also wishing for others, and how much is there that interaction in that sense?
Yeah, the actual effect. And I think it does cross over there in terms of at least our immediate circle of friends, of family, maybe of neighborhood, and just increasing, like who has a bigger effect than the Dalai Lama? I mean, I can think of a couple of people, but I don't want it. Okay, Dalai Lama. But yeah, at least the people who we're interacting with, the fruits are definitely there when we see if it's working versus when it's not. And I think if you just extrapolate that principle, that it really does work. There really is a difference between having metta for my loved one and yeah, giving vent to why I'm right, Yeah. Yeah, please, Melody.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the lovely talk, Ajahn. I just wanted to sort of expand on what you and Scott were talking about, but as far as dukkha and metta, about a week and a half ago, my son Noah and I had it was almost a very surreal spiritual day, and I did something really stupid. I woke up and decided I was going to take an electric hedger and go out and cut down the arborvitae that was blocking the sun from getting to my roses. And I don't know what happened, but next thing I know, I severely cut 2 fingers. Noah called 911 and took me to Evergreen to emergency. And first, I think this might have been ego in a sense. I was all just, I'm so stupid. I was so down on myself. I was such an idiot, and I'm an idiot, and I'm telling, and what's wrong with me, and why did I do this? But then I started hearing all these stories from the doctor and the nurse and medics, and horrible stories that other people have gone through, and how lucky I am. And I am very lucky. No tendons were severed, and the bone is okay. But then I started thinking of all the suffering that's going on in the world right now, and in Gaza, and all the starving people and starving children. It just broke my heart. And thinking of others and metta. So I was thinking of a lot of metta, and I think Noah was as well. And of course, my wonderful son, thinking of him and being there holding my hand. And then all the suffering with all these immigrants and what they're going through and their families. And then we left, and also in the ride home, Noah and I were just talking. Everybody was wonderful. It was amazing. At the hospital, people were so kind, so loving. They had sparkles in their eyes, the metta, the loving kindness, and it all stemmed from this dukkha. And then when we went to Costco for the antibiotic, people and this older couple coming up and just, oh my goodness, your hand, it looks so painful. They were so sweet and so kind, and everybody. And it's like, wow, look at the love and the kindness that has come out of this. And I just want to say, I just felt so grateful. And ever since, I don't know what's happened. No one knows I can be a bit of a fireball pistol and get mad very easily. And I haven't. I've just been as calm as a cucumber. And it's been about 11 days and just so grateful and full of love for the world and love and blessings for everybody, what they're going through in Gaza. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Melody. When you mentioned the hedge clipper, I looked down and was very happy to see you had both of your legs. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's, you know, the golden rule, yeah, that do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I recently heard of the reverse golden rule, which is do unto yourself as you would have others do unto you, or as others would do unto you. And just as you're describing, and pretty much I could say the same. I don't know everybody in this room very well, but I would never wish for anybody in this room to berate themselves. I mean, even if you had had the first thought, I'm going to go outside and cut off 2 of my fingers, you know, I wouldn't be berating you and saying, that's stupid. Well, I could say it very kindly, that it's not, it's kind of a stupid thought first thing in the morning. But yeah, I mean, and hopefully it's the same with you, with Noah, or with the other people we care about in our lives. It's, yeah, we wouldn't say that to them, and we just have to recognize those voices in ourselves. And also, yeah, that the voices of compassion. So not everybody thinks about other people or has the heart space, the head space to allow other people into their hearts. And so that can be a really good movement of heart. It can be very expansive. It can expand the range of your generosity and the bigness of your own heart and mind. And we have to also be careful, because there are, you know, toxic ways of feeling compassion, which are toxic for us and aren't actually helpful into the world. So actually having a meta, you know, karuna, a metta karuna, single T, so like a overarching view of what our compassion is doing. Is our compassion toxic compassion? Is it going to lead to compassion fatigue? Is it that type of compassion? Is it sustainable? Is it actually brightening my heart? I can see the suffering of others, but it's not bringing me down. It's not making me more depressed. It's not making me want to doom scroll for the next 3 hours and to just be a rat person. That's a new term I learned. It's not making me want to do that just to stay in bed all day. It's actually, yeah, I've got a big heart that can include more than just me and my bed, me and my phone. And if that's what your karuna, your compassion is doing, then that's the kind of karuna, compassion that you want to be cultivating. And yeah, if it comes up so naturally around people we love, then that's taking that as the kernel principle of, okay, this is what real metta, real compassion can feel like. So,
Thank you, Ajahn.
Maybe just one more question. Yeah, Kirk, please. Vandana? Vandana on Zoom. Hey, good morning.
Thank you so much, Ajahn and Kirk, for giving me your spot. Thank you so much. So Ajahn, I'm very grateful for this talk and also your 7-hour meditation. I can't join all of them, but at least in the morning. So thank you so much. And about the anicca, I just want to share my understanding, which I kind of reconfirm Goenkaji's retreat, that things are actually for me, impermanence somehow never worked. So things are changing. Things are constantly changing into something else. For example, for me, if I see like if I'm breathing in oxygen, then the oxygen, the gas, the whatever is going in is going to now change into carbon dioxide, right? So it's not going to, the air it's not going to stay the same. It's going to change its form somehow. So that works well for me. So I thought, oh, now I can see anicca everywhere, that things are changing in different ways. And for anatta, what my understanding is that is not self, meaning practice starts with you. Are you seeing, if I'm seeing my body as not self, my form is not self, my perceptions, my feelings are not self, and then somehow that self start to disappear for me. And then when this self start to disappear, then metta is naturally start to emerge, because there is no place for anything personal anymore. So that's how I see it, anatta. But I also know that Buddha, when Buddha talked about anatta, he's talking about Atman. There is no Atman which goes from one body to another. So there are several ways, but what works for me is working on myself, seeing my body constantly impermanent, changing, so there is no self in it. My feelings constantly changing, perceptions changing, so there is no self. Then who am I to have this arrogant about, this is me? And when I let it go, then there is nothing left but love and compassion. That's how I see it. Thank you, Ajahn, for everything.
Thank you very much, Vandana. Glad you're coming to the meditations, and really good flagging of that dogmatism when we notice this. Only this is true, everything else is wrong. When we notice that in the mind, that's the voice of dogmatism, is not the voice of Dhamma, and that kind of obstructs any of these insights into impermanence or not self. So yeah, thanks for highlighting that and the other tools. And we just encourage everybody to be equally creative in finding ways to really bring the Dhamma wherever the source, just bringing it into your own heart. So thanks, everybody.